Hello, I'm Matteo, the Chief Mobile Opinionist here at Tech Travel Geeks, and this is our second video in the series of videos we're doing about the Nokia or Nokia G22 smartphone. Today we're going to be setting up the smartphone, but if you haven't already seen it, you can see the full unboxing that we published yesterday on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. And make sure you're subscribed to be able to see our future videos about this device and any other gadgets, accessories, and things we think make the travel experience better. Right then, so we have the Nokia G22 in hand. And the first thing we're going to do is, before we even switch it on for the first time properly, is take that SIM tray and the SIM ejector tool that we got out in the unboxing and open that SIM tray. Now, this is a SIM tray that takes multiple cards. What I'm going to do here is pop in a nano SIM card from Libara, as well as a 64GB micro SD card. Now, this Nokia G22 is the model we purchased directly from Nokia or Nokia on their website in the UK. It is the 128GB model. I'm adding an extra 64GB with a SanDisk micro SD card. Next up, I'm going to long press the power button on the right hand side of the device. As we've seen before on some Xiaomi devices and others, the power button is slightly recessed, it's an inner one. And that power button also doubles up as a fingerprint scanner as far as I'm aware. And then you have the volume rocker at the top, right here. Now, as you see, Nokia and as you probably heard, their logo is there. I'm going to start the setup process by selecting English United Kingdom, because that's where I am, that's where I live. So let's go. Next up, I'm going to have to connect to my Wi-Fi network. Okay then, so that should be now connecting to the Wi-Fi. First impressions of the keyboard and the inputs. It has haptic feedback enabled by default, is that it's a little bit mushy, but perfectly responsive. There seemed to be little or no lag between the press and the vibration I got. I also had no problems typing. There was no noticeable lag in the keyboard. And by the looks of it, it's the standard Gboard by Google. So good to see that in the defaults there. Now, we are connected to my high-speed Wi-Fi. What is happening now is that the Nokia G22 is checking for updates and additional services. We'll see what happens. Okay then, so we have done that. We're now in a new screen. It says just a few moments. So it must have heard back from the HMD Global Mothership about this device. We'll see what happens next. Now, next up, we have the option to copy apps and data from an existing smartphone. Now, as regular viewers of the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel will know, I prefer to set up my smartphones as new devices and not go through what is often a broken experience of trying to do this. So on the left-hand side, I'll press Don't Copy, and I'll set this up as a new smartphone. Now again, the Nokia or Nokia G22 is now checking information, whatever that means. Now, next up, we need to sign in with our Google account. Okay then, that's me signing in. Now, obviously, I'll need to go through two-step verification with the good people at Google. I should be getting a notification on one of my other devices. Okay then, that's been set up. So I'm logged into my Google account. Now, Google very helpfully asks me who will be using this device. In this case, I will be. But the good news is that Google now has some slightly better parental controls and, more importantly, parental account management if you were to set this up for a child. But in this case, I'll be setting it up myself for my own use. Next up, details about all that. I'm fine with that. We agree to all the terms and conditions. We trust in Google and their partners. After all, our data to them is free. We're giving it away for free, but there is an inherent benefit in it, in the services continuously improving, less advertising when it's more targeted, and some pretty awesome services. So when it comes to choosing your search engine on the ballot page here, as I have the option to do, I will choose Google. So I'm going to pick Google, and that's there, but nothing to stop you choosing another provider if needed. Next up, it's suggesting we set up our fingerprint unlock. And as usual, before we do that, we need to set up a PIN number. Okay then, now I've done that, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that power button, that slightly recessed power button at the side, is also a fingerprint scanner. So I'm going to set it up by tapping my finger on it multiple times to get my fingerprint scanned and enable fingerprint unlock on the device. There we go, so I've added a fingerprint. In this step, you can choose to add an extra fingerprint if you require doing so, but in this case, I think that's fine. Next up is suggesting we set up face unlock. Obviously, this isn't the most secure way of doing things, but it is extremely convenient if you're not wearing a face mask. So I'll just need to enter my PIN number. So there we go. Obviously, you can see my camera's there. Oh well. So I'll need to face unlock this with a camera going forward. Fine. Next up, let's continue the setup and see what other options are given to us. So now it's the usual Google Assistant section, where we get the option to enable the Hey G service, and I'll agree to that. In Google we trust, as I said earlier, and then it's setting up voice match. Now obviously I've done this multiple times, so in this case it's unlikely I'll need to do it again, but we'll see what happens. There we go, that's it done. But if you've not done this recently, you may have to re-record yourself saying it 3 times. The magic hey, and I won't actually say the G word, but that's it done. So that's essentially the setup process mostly done. I'm fine, I don't need to do any of the other things. And we'll have a look by default how the device's hand is set up. So it wants to know, next up, this is an HMD screen. HMD is the parent company of Nokia smartphones, or Nokia phone company. So I'm going to subscribe to their news and offers. I'll join in the user experience program and share my location with them. That way they'll have better information and hopefully be able to improve on their devices. My Device app is the app that lets you get the most out of your Nokia for longer. Okay, let's open that up and see what happens. So we had a little sneak peek at the wallpaper there as it was flashing through. So do we want to turn on push notifications? Yeah. Do we want to share device identifiers? Do we want that? Yes, I'll sign in with my Google account. And there we go. So there we go, you've got the Nokia app, we're fine for that. What I'm going to do now is just go to the home screen, and as you can see, we have what looks like a pretty canonical Google almost stock Android experience. But I say almost because we can see it from the front here. You do have an app drawer at the bottom, but you can see from the front here that we have an app store which has a series of apps already installed, including Netflix, LinkedIn, Spotify, ExpressVPN, GoPro Quick, Booking.com, Amazon, and Amazon Music. Now, while some of these might be useful, to most people this is pretty much bloatware. Very disappointing to see Nokia install bloatware on their devices. I probably suspect this is why Nokia are no longer part of the Android One program. The monetization for pre-installing these apps is pretty juicy. It's too much for them to turn down. So let's go into the app drawer and see what we have. As we saw, we've got a series of apps there. The Google Play Store is in the background updating a series of apps. So we'll go in here and see what's happening. Now, first impressions is it's not a super smooth experience compared to other smartphones. This is an affordable smartphone, so it's not entirely surprising. It has 4 GB of RAM and a Unisoc octa-core chipset. Now, Unisoc are probably best known for making set-top boxes for cable television and satellite receivers, but never really known for doing phone chipsets until a few years ago. And that was during the pandemic, when there was a supply chain crisis for a lot of the industry. Some manufacturers, usually the more independent little companies, as well as companies making devices for the much more affordable end of the market, they couldn't get the supply for Qualcomm or MediaTek chipsets, so they ended up going to Unisoc. And Unisoc have been able to supply consistently at volume for these type of devices. So it's unsurprising to see it here. It's not the highest end chipset, and as you can see, it does take a little bit of a while to perform actions, in this case such as updating the pre-installed apps on the device. And there is quite a few updates that need to come out of the box. Now, as you can see, by default, the Nokia 2.2 has a very Google-like launcher with an app drawer. It is using gesture navigation by default. Now, if you've watched YouTube videos on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel regularly, you know that we do regularly publish videos about how to switch gesture navigation on or off. We will be following up this video with exactly that video for the Nokia G22, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. We'll be back with a full dedicated video, just a quick guide on how to disable gesture navigation. Let's go into the settings menu whilst the Google Play Store is updating apps in the background. We'll see what's happening in terms of system updates. As the Nokia G22 comes out of the box, it's running Android 12. Now, in early 2023, that means it's around about 6 to 8 months behind the Android 13 release. And Nokia do promise softer operating system updates for a number of years on this device, but we'll need to actually see if they deliver on that. Nokia HMD Global are very good at making promises about security updates and so forth, but they don't deliver. And just as the device comes out of the box, you can see that not only is this an outdated version of Android, it's also on an old security patch. I'm recording this video on March 16th, 2022. We'll just check the clock here. Yeah, Thursday, 16th of March, 2023. Apologies, get that right. And the security patch is already over a month old. It's still the January 2023 patch. I would expect a device that gets monthly security patches to already be in the middle of March on the February patch, but that's not the case. And if we check for updates, you'll see that we've successfully checked and everything is up to date. So not a great start from Nokia, who promise a lot in terms of updates, but seldom deliver in my experience. And we have covered quite a number of Nokia devices on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. Anyway, let's go back and see how we're doing for updates. Calculator is updating, and once that's done, we'll just kick off the rest of the updates. That should be done now. Actually, maybe this was an update to the Google Play Store itself that caused that glitch. So Calculator is now installing. Now we have all the other pre-installed apps that need updated. We'll update them now. Fantastic. So that's happening in the background. Let's go back into the settings. We've looked at the sad state of updates as it comes out of the box. Now, here we have the storage manager. There's 15 gigabytes of storage used on the device of the 128 gigabytes that came pre-installed. We also do have a micro SD installed, a SanDisk micro SD installed, so we need to set that up. Okay then, I'm back after having formatted the memory card for the Nokia G22. So I'm going to use that as portable storage and we're ready to go. So if we go back to SanDisk SD card, I have 64 gigabytes free, which is great. Okay then. Meanwhile, there's been a bit of a jump here thanks to the magic of editing. We're back into this video. Let's check on the other apps here. So manage apps and device. There's a couple of updates pending. We'll check in on those. Now, as we mentioned earlier, there is some bloatware that we've seen here on the Nokia G22. Netflix is one of those apps that some may consider to be bloatware. So let's have a quick check on what there is here. So for example, Spotify. I don't think this is a useful app. I don't subscribe to it, so I'm going to long press on it and see what the options are. Nope, nothing there. Info, we'll go into it, and there is an uninstall button. So I just want to check if it's possible to actually just simply uninstall an app that's pre-installed, and it works. So we've seen the Nokia G22 have some pre-installed apps, and one of the ones that I seldom use, especially on my phone, is LinkedIn. So I'm going to long press on that, app info, uninstall, and there, it's gone. Also, ExpressVPN's not a VPN provider I use. I use other apps such as Surfshark and NordVPN, so I'll get rid of that as well. So it is pretty simple to uninstall the pre-installed apps, as you see me doing here. So, boom, most of them uninstalled. I'll keep the rest because they look as if they're quite useful, like the Amazon app and the Amazon Music app. Anyway, having done that, let's have a look at CPUZ. So CPUZ is the app I usually use to have a look at chipsets and so forth. I'm going to install that, and then once that's done, I should be able to quite simply open it, and we can check the setup here. So as you can see, this is an octa-core chipset. It's the one by Unisoc that is running this device. Its range seems to be between 614 megahertz and 1.61 gigahertz per core. So that's pretty beefy for a device under £200. So let's have a quick look at the other things. Oops, an ad. Good to see those actually working. So the device is by HMD Global. The code name for the Nokia G22 is Sunfire, and the screen resolution is 720 by 1600. Nothing too surprising here. Perfectly functional, works great with all normal apps. You might notice maybe a lack of crispness if you're streaming a 1080p or 4K video on YouTube, but there's no point in doing that, especially if you're watching it on a 720p screen. 4 gigabytes of RAM, which in normal use means 3,571 megabytes. And so that's pretty much it. Okay, so in terms of specs, we've seen that, we've expanded the storage, we've seen that it doesn't really have frequent updates, at least as it comes out of the box in mid-March 2023. I'm pretty much done here in terms of installing apps. Let's just have a quick look at how YouTube performs here. But the overall setup is a pretty painless experience. And I have to say that it wasn't too bad in terms of performance for a device in this price range. I would say it outperforms some of the competition in terms of the likes of Doogee and others which are in the same price range. Anyway, I'll wrap up this video. This was our quick setup video for the Nokia G22. This is the first in a series of videos. If there's anything else you'd like to know, please do leave a question in the comment section below. We'll do our best to get back to you there, or to do a dedicated video about it, and we'll call out your comment when doing so. So thanks for watching if you made it this far. If you don't already, please do subscribe to the Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube. We cover consumer electronics, gadgets, accessories, are often interrupted by my cats in some videos, which involves extra editing. But for now, again, thanks for watching, and goodbye from me.